Did you catch this? Grocery prices in the US jumped another 5% in July 2025, and the experts say August might be the month everything changes. We're not talking speculation, this is straight from the USDA, which found 70% of shoppers are already stressed about food costs, and the truth is, it's about to hit harder. Today we're talking about 10 grocery items you need to grab right now, because in a few weeks they could either vanish or cost so much you'll think twice before buying them. And wait until you hear number 7. It's already slipping away from major retailers, and most people have no clue. Let's get right into item 1, rice and oats. On the surface these sound like boring pantry fillers, but behind the scenes they're sitting right in the crosshairs of a global food storm. Take rice. India, the world's biggest exporter, just slapped a 20% export duty on certain varieties to protect their local market. On top of that, the US hit specific Indian rice imports with tariffs as high as 50%. Translation? That $25 bag of basmati you bought last year could be $37 or more by winter, if you can even find it. Some wholesalers are already rationing bulk orders to restaurants. Oats aren't catching a break either. Canada, our top supplier, faced a whiplash season, drought, then heavy rains in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. Production might recover later this year, but right now, mills are running lean. Some grocery chains have already reported wholesale oat prices up over 18% since, and when oats tighten, it doesn't just hit your oatmeal, it impacts granola bars, oat milk, and even your favorite healthy snacks. Here's your move. Toss in a few bay leaves to keep pests out. Rolled or steel-cut oats can last up to 2 years sealed and dry, meaning you lock in today's price and dodge tomorrow's spike. We saw the same pattern back in 2022, slow price creep, then a sudden 30% jump in just 1 month. Don't wait for that to happen again. Item 2. Dried beans and lentils. These aren't just budget food anymore, they're turning into inflation-proof protein. Argentina, a major exporter, is battling a severe drought, shrinking crops and pushing prices up. In fact, organic beans and lentils are already up nearly 40% in the past year. At the same time, demand is exploding. Thanks to the plant-based trend, you've probably noticed lentil pasta, chickpea snacks, and bean-based protein bars popping up everywhere. More demand, less supply, higher prices. I saw this firsthand. My neighbor went out for bulk black beans last week. First 2 stores were sold out. The third only had canned beans at triple the price per pound. Here's the game plan. Buy dried beans and lentils now, especially from bulk bins, to avoid packaging markups. Store them in airtight glass jars or food-grade buckets with a couple of bay leaves inside. In a cool, dark spot, they can last 25-30 years without losing quality. Rotate your stock, eat the oldest first, replace with new. Right now, a $1.50 per pound bag could easily hit $3 by the holidays. These aren't just survival foods, they're shelf-stable, nutrient-dense, and one of the smartest food investments you can make before the next price spike. Item 3. Canned goods, and this one is already flashing red. Right now the metal and packaging world is in flux. New tariff moves and rising metal costs are squeezing can makers and packaging suppliers, and multiple industry groups are warning those higher costs will eventually land on grocery shelves. That means staples like canned tomatoes, corn, tuna, and soup could get pricier fast. At the same time, there's less produce to put into can. Processing tomato acreage and contracted tonnage are down for 2025, and extreme weather in 2024 drove billions in crop losses. So even if cans are available, there's less product to fill them. That double whammy, pricier metal plus fewer cans of actual food, is a classic perfect storm for shortages. Practical move: don't panic, buy junk, be strategic. Private label and store brands are often made in the same plants as big names and cost a lot less. Now's a great time to lean on them and compare unit prices. If you can, buy a mix of vegetables, fruits, proteins, and soups, so you cover meals and calories, not just one flavor. Storage basics people forget: check every can before you buy. No bulges, deep dents, leaks, or rust. At home, write the purchase date on the top with a Sharpie and rotate first in, first out. Inspect your stash every few months. Don't keep mystery cans in the back of the pantry. Those aren't just tips, they're the difference between an edible emergency meal and a food safety nightmare. Suggested target FEMA and ready.gov say keep at least a several days supply and recommend building toward 2 weeks. If you want extra peace of mind, aim higher. A sensible household goal is to build a flexible canned supply that covers meals for a couple of weeks while you wait for prices to settle. Remember, this is smart prep, not hoarding. Item 4. Powdered milk. The quiet lifesaver. Most people think it's camping food, but non-fat powdered milk is an emergency asset. When stored right, it outlives fresh milk by years and keeps your coffee, cereal, baking, and even some recipes working when fresh dairy gets expensive or scarce. Under normal retail packaging, non-fat powdered milk typically keeps well for a few years. With purpose-built long-term packaging, many long-term stores and survival suppliers report 10-20+ year shelf lives for non-fat varieties. That longevity is why relief agencies and preppers both use dry milk in emergency kits. Why powder matters now. Wholesale and farm-level dairy costs have been volatile. Weather, feed, and labor pressures pushed dairy prices higher in recent years, and USDA forecasts show stronger dairy commodity prices into 20. That means fresh milk and dairy staples are more expensive or less predictable. Powdered milk is a way to lock in calories and protein without fighting those monthly swings. Pro tips you can read on camera. Buy non-fat powdered milk for longest shelf life. Store sealed cans in a cool, dry place. Ideally 50-70 ppf, and once open, move the powder to an airtight glass jar and write the open date on the lid. If you want creamier reconstituted milk, mix non-fat powder with a small amount of shelf-stable creamer or coconut milk powder. Use it for coffee, baking, sauces, smoothies, and in real emergencies it can even substitute in infant formula only as a last resort and with pediatric guidance. Final framing line for this bit. When everyone else is paying $7 for a gallon or staring at empty dairy cases, you'll be the one sipping a hot latte and making pancakes. Because you planned. That's not dramatic, that's preparation. Item 5. Flour and baking essentials. This one's about to hit home for anyone who bakes, cooks, or even just enjoys a fresh loaf of bread. Last week I spoke with Jennifer, who's run a bakery in Chicago for 15 years. She told me she's never seen the wheat market this unstable. Whole wheat flour production just hit its lowest point in a decade, and that's only part of the problem. Globally, Ukraine and Russia, which usually supply around 20% of the world's wheat, are still facing major export disruptions. Add in climate disasters hammering other key producers, and the supply chain is under crushing pressure. Even here in the US, shelves are telling the story. At my local Costco, the flour section looked like it had been hit by a storm. A manager whispered to me that they're now receiving less than half their usual shipments, and it's expected to tighten even more. Prices are moving just as fast, up 47. That $4.50 bag of King Arthur flour in March, try 60 stees now, with some experts warning it could hit 9 before Halloween. Here's where you can outsmart the shortages. Don't just grab all-purpose flour. During the last big wave of panic baking, bread flour vanished first. Mix your stockpile, bread flour, whole wheat, and even specialty flours to cover all bases. For long-term storage, Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers can stretch flour's shelf life from 6 to 8 months to 5 and 8 years. That's like turning your pantry into your own backup bakery. And it's not just flour under fire. Sugar prices are climbing too. The USDA just reported a 5.1% jump, fueled by droughts in Asia and one of the worst El Niño patterns in a decade. I personally saw 20 pounds of sugar jump from 16. Yeast is also quietly tightening. Nearly 70% of bakeries are reporting trouble getting it. And don't overlook baking powder and salt. With most U.S. salt production coming from just a few big suppliers, one hiccup can send ripple effects nation. Pro storage hack. I keep flour in food-grade buckets with Gamma Seal lids, and sugar and salt in large mason jars. Cool, dry, airtight storage has kept my supplies fresh for over 2 years, and saved me hundreds of dollars. Item 6. Specialty imports and ethnic foods. This is the sleeper category that's disappearing faster than most people realize. Recent 25% tariffs on imports from Mexico and Canada, plus 10% on goods from China, are already pushing costs up for import. I spoke to the owner of a small Asian grocery who told me his wholesale prices jumped 40% in just 1 month. It's not just obscure items, we're talking about essentials in millions of American kitchens. Sichuan peppercorns, sesame paste, specialty vinegars, imported oil, Zhenjiang vinegar, A staple in Chinese cooking, shot from $3.50 to $8.95 in just 2 months. Restaurant owners are literally calling suppliers, begging for inventory. Here's the good news. A lot of these products have incredibly long shelf lives. Properly stored soy sauce can last for decades. Vinegars actually get better with age. Stocking up now isn't just insurance, it's an investment in flavor. Pro tip: check smaller ethnic markets before you hit the big box stores. They often have deeper inventory and better prices because they buy directly from distributors. I grabbed sesame paste at a local Asian market for $40.50. The exact same jar was $9.99 at Whole Foods. Item 7. Coffee and tea. If you drink either of these every morning, listen up, because this is personal. Brazil, which sits at the center of the global coffee market, has been hammered by extreme weather this season, and crop damage that experts say will take years to recover from. That kind of hit in Brazil ripples straight to your cup. Analysts and trade reports have pushed coffee futures and wholesale prices sharply higher in 2024-25, and roasters I've talked to are bracing for price jumps this winter. If you love coffee, this is legitimately one of the scariest supply stories on the list. Here's what I do, and what you can do to avoid paying through the nose: buy whole beans in bulk, grind only what you need, and vacuum seal small weekly portions and freeze them. Freezing preserves flavor and caffeine much longer than leaving bags on the counter. Pro roasters recommend portioning so you only thaw what you'll use in a week. Also, keep some quality instant coffee as insurance. The flavor isn't the same, but it's shelf stable and will get you through shortages without paying cafe prices. Storage science and practical guidance on vacuum packaging and freezing are supported by specialty coffee preservation resources. Tea is sneaky. It doesn't grab headlines like coffee, but specialty teas, think premium green, oolong and single origin black teas, are seeing tighter supplies and higher prices because of climate stress in key growing regions. Market analysts show the premium end of the tea market under pressure and rising costs for certain varieties. If you rely on specialty leaf teas, consider stocking whole leaf bags. They store better than little tea dust in sachets, or buying a small supply of powdered alternatives like matcha, which keep well and are easy to portion. Item 8. Frozen vegetables. This one's easy to overlook until your freezer shelf looks thin. Frozen vegetable processors are being squeezed by two things: fewer crops to freeze, because of weather hits to harvests, and packaging logistics slowdowns that make it harder to keep lines running. That combination is producing local gaps, even if national price indexes don't scream shortage yet. Processors and some retailers are already reporting trouble keeping basics fully stocked. Don't assume frozen means inferior. Frozen veggies are often picked at peak ripeness and flash frozen, which preserves nutrients very well, in some cases better than supermarket fresh that's been in transit for days. Most frozen veggies will keep 8 to 12 months at consistent freezer temps with minimal nutrient loss, so they're a great way to lock in cheap, nutritious options now. When building a smart frozen stash, focus on multi-serve blends, stir-fry mixes, mixed veggies for quick, flexible meals, plus a few single vegetable bags, broccoli, corn, peas for variety. If you want to expand capacity, a small chest freezer is one of the best investments for long-term food resilience. It gives you the freedom to buy bigger, cheaper packs without worrying about space. Quick action steps your viewers can take today. Trade a little shelf space for durability. Opt for whole bean coffee and vacuum seal freezer portion it. Add a quality instant coffee as backup. Buy whole leaf or shelf-stable powdered teas for specialty varieties, and prioritize mixed frozen vegetable packs plus one chest freezer if you can. These moves don't feel dramatic, but in a tight market, they'll keep your family fed and your grocery bill from exploding. Item 9. Baby formula and pet food. If you have a baby or a pet, this is the part of the video that matters most. The U.S. infant formula system is still fragile after the 2022 crisis. Federal agencies have been working on a long-term resiliency plan because single-point failures in the supply chain can still cause big local gaps. The FDA explicitly laid out that the market needs structural fixes to prevent future shortages. That's official, not rumor. What this means for parents: don't panic, but be proactive. Check your formula's expiration date and store unopened containers in a cool, dry indoor place per CDC guidance. If you're low, call your pediatrician before switching brands or forms. Doctors and manufacturers can recommend safe alternatives if a particular product is temporarily unavailable. Also, sign up for retailer restock alerts, follow manufacturer notices, and tap community channels, local parent groups, hospital lactation consultants, and WIC offices often share timely tips during tight runs. The National Academies and FTC reports on the market's vulnerabilities make this a policy-level problem. But your day-to-day response should be calm and practical. Pet food is quietly under pressure too. The pet food industry lists multiple risk factors for 2025, global ingredient shifts, logistics snarls, and packaging constraints are all real problems retailers are watching. When your usual brand vanishes for a week, swapping suddenly can upset your animal's digestion. The smart move is to gradually introduce 1 or 2 vetted backup formulas now at home over several days so your pet's gut has time to adapt, and always run changes by your veterinarian. Also consider adding a small rotating reserve of a trusted alternative brand so you're not scrambling when shelves run low. Practical, safe steps quick checklist your viewers can use right now. 1. Inventory what you have and note use-by dates. 2. Call your pediatrician or vet before making substitutions. 3. Register for email text alerts from manufacturers and major retailers. They often post restock windows first. 4. Talk to local suppliers. Independent pet stores, co-ops, and hospital pharmacies sometimes have stock when big chains are empty. 5. Avoid risky DIY formula. Mixing dilute homemade substitutes can harm infants. These steps keep you prepared without crossing into panic. Item 10. Cooking oils. This category is one of the fastest moving ones right now, and the reason is global. Weather-driven crop hits, shifting export rules, and tightening stocks in major producing regions have all combined to make edible oils a real pinch point. Global price indexes and commodity reports are flashing volatility, and trade changes out of Southeast Asia and yield shortfalls in North America are tightening supplies for everyday oils. What to prioritize? Practical, no-nonsense advice. Buy oils that do more than one job: frying, dressing, baking, and those with stable supply chains where possible. If you can, spread your oil purchases across formats and sources: a favorite cooking oil, a neutral high-heat oil for frying, and one versatile pantry oil for dressings and finishing. Smaller sealed containers are often smarter for home use than huge open jugs, because you'll open fewer containers and reduce the speed at which oil degrades once exposed to air. Also, local bulk buy co-ops or restaurant supply stores sometimes still have sealed cases when retail aisles are thin. Industry market reports show these markets shifting fast, so getting a little extra now, sensibly, can save a lot later. Final framing. How to say it on camera. This isn't doom screaming, it's pattern recognition. Officials and industry reports show the pressure points. You don't need to empty the shelves, you just need to be strategic. Protect vulnerable people in your household first. Infants and pets. Diversify your brands and formats, and use reliable channels: pediatricians, vets, manufacturer, and trusted local shops for guidance. If you want, I'll turn these checklists into a printable what to do this week card you can put on screen or link in the description. Smash like if you found this helpful, subscribe for the storage mistakes video next week, and drop a comment. Are you prioritizing formula, pet food, or oils first? Tell me why and I'll respond with tailored tips for your situation.